This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life. I got the meaning, and I got to write it down, because I don't want to forget it.
Just win, baby.
Hello and welcome back to a delayed episode of the Gold Jacket Podcast brought to you by Monkey Knife Fight. I am your host, Gymnastic. You can find me on Twitter at Gold Jacket QBs. We are normally on a Tuesday. I apologize. We're on a Thursday, a couple hours before the show. You know what I'm talking about. I'm joined, as always, by the other host of the show, Connor Donald. He can be found at Twitter at Connor10. We are proud members of the True North Fantasy Network. And make sure to check out the entire network on Twitter. That's at True North FFB. If you're watching this right now, we appreciate you on the TNFF network. On internet, you can find all our articles, rankings, podcasts, and so much more at TrueNorthFFB.com. And we're on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram, but we are on Instagram. I don't know what we're putting on there, but we're on there. So check it out. Welcome. We are in the nitty-gritty now. You pretty much know if you're going for a playoff spot. Now it's just jostling. Maybe you're trying to like squeak in. I don't know, but it's week 13 of the NFL season. The fantasy playoffs are starting literally from week 14 onward. It's just Connor and myself this week. We're talking Tuddies, Muddies. That's the latest boomer bust games, trends, and how you should be taking them for the season long or dynasty purposes. I'm going to go bananas, and I'm going to go bananas quick this week. It's sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. I'm giving you my favorite Monkey Knife Fight prop games for the Thursday Night Football, which is happening in 2 hours, which, you know what? I don't even know what I am right now. I'm 1 for 3 on those Thursday night Thanksgiving games. I apologize. I'm thankful that Stephon Diggs and Dawson Knox made it out. I apologize because Darren Waller and DeAndre Swift looked like they got the touch of death there by me. And I really apologize, but we're doing that real early at the top of the show. And then at the end, we're giving you gold and fool's gold for my man, Connor. It's week 13 starts and sits. But first up, Connor, what's happening?
Man, not much. I mean, it's weird to be on a Thursday, but at least, you know what, we started half an hour early so that everyone would be prepared to go get their wherever their man cave ready and watch a football game tonight. So we're giving you kind of like a pre-game ramble plus a chance to win some money, you know, with the goal, with the going bananas with you. Even though you struggled last Thursday, we forgive and we forget. Hey, last week was a crazy for injuries. Again, like I feel like we've said that every single week. So I feel like we might as well just stop saying it as an excuse because we know it's inevitable to happen anyways. But like you said, let's kick it off right away with Going Bananas, sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. Of course, go and tell them the Gold Jacket Podcast guys sent you by using the promo code TNFF at your first deposit for a 100% deposit match up to $50. And Jim, what do you got for us tonight?
Okay, we're doing this real quick. We're going to be slapping babies, kissing ladies. We're going 1.5 tutties. Connor, later in the show, is probably going to dispute one of these guys, but that's fine. We're going Dak Prescott is thrown to my man Schultze. We got Zeke the Freak still feeding the Salvation Army, rolling strong. And then we got a big play all the way. Traquan Smith, baby. Between those three, I'm saying 1.5 tutties are being scored. And speaking of tutties, Connor, let's get right into tutty or muddy.
Absolutely, man. There was some pretty intriguing trends, some different directions I wanted to go this week because of all the injuries and because of all these weird sophomore situations that we're looking at, second year situations we're looking at. So I pulled a few different ones this week. But let's first start out with Javonte Williams. Is it finally time? Back-to-back weeks of a near 60-40 split over Melvin Gordon and snap share. He finished his ERB6 last week. We knew patience needed to be exercised in year one. Now we are wrapping up year one, and it's looking to be close to time for Javonte Williams to supersede Melvin Gordon and save the Broncos some money next year when Melvin Gordon becomes a free agent and they don't need to re-sign him. So what are your thoughts, Jim, on Javonte Williams?
Well, for a playoff push, this is looking really nice with a 50-50 chance that Melvin Gordon's even going to play this week. Like you said, with the 60-40 splits, and he was eventually taking over, this could be the door that kicks wide open for Javonte right in the time where you're going to need him to steamroll. There's always a guy that ends up coming out of your fantasy playoffs and ends up lifting you. Is it going to be JT? Is it going to be Mixon with that late season push that he seems to be putting on? Will it be Javonte Williams with this door opening? And I do think for season long, this is a Tuddy dynasty. Absolutely. I think your door has slammed shut on a buying opportunity for him at all costs, any type of low rate. If you bought him in dynasty or drafted him in dynasty early enough, you are a believer, and you're not going to be letting him go now when you see this door opening for potentially a workhorse load. And like, as much as me and Craig have talked about it, me and you have talked about it, a lot of guys in the group talked about it, within the next 3 years, we do see a majority of the league going RBBC. So that is something that you're going to end up seeing. But you always want the guy taking the majority of snaps. And this could be Javonte Williams.
Agreed. It just has sucked to watch Melvin Gordon get some of the more important touches earlier in the season because he really could have taken over way sooner. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. He is absolutely a Tuddy, like you said. And I think I saw somebody tweet out, like, if you're buying him at this point, you're buying him at such a premium that is he even going to be worth it? So kind of alluding to your point, you really have to be prepared to pay up massively to get Javonte Williams at this point. But he's absolutely going to be a dynasty Tuddy, even if they bring Melvin Gordon back or they bring somebody else back as like a secondary option, because that's what teams are doing now. That's exactly what they're going to be, as a secondary option. So yeah, Javonte Williams, Tuddy for sure. Next one, we're going to go with another running back, Saquon Barkley. Is it panic time with Barkley? The matchup was fairly nice, but the offense and the team as a whole is struggling mightily and is facing a major identity crisis. Gettleman is out as GM. Garrett is out as offensive coordinator. Danny Dimes is looking to be headed towards a career as a perennial backup. Now there are reports emerging that the Giants may not even re-sign Barkley. Oddly enough, he still ranks top 10 in production premium, which measures productivity in league average situations. His offensive line has ranked 65th among running backs in blocking efficiency when he is the running back, and he's 5th in yards created per touch. Is a change of scenery exactly what Barkley needs to be the generational talent he was supposed to be, or is this all a case of what could have been?
Well, I believe the quote from 5 general managers was 4 of them wouldn't re-sign him. 1 would have used the 5th-year option on him. I don't see why you wouldn't use the 5th-year option on him if you're going to have him. You have that luxury. That's why you draft him. That is exactly the reason why you draft a running back in the first round, is to have that 5th-year option. So if anything, I wouldn't be signing him to a long-term contract either. I'd be exercising that 5th-year option on him. Is it time to panic? I think if you're going to sell, I think the time was a couple of weeks ago. You're getting a little... Can he win you games? Yes. Are you going to pay a premium for him around this time? Yes. Are you going to be able to immediately get that payment back? No. As soon as you trade for him, you will not be able to get, if you traded 2 firsts or whatever your deal is for him, you're not getting that value back in your league whatsoever the minute after you trade for him, I don't think. But that's just me.
I actually kind of agree though. Like, I mean, you're paying a premium, but when's that going to pay dividends? Because I mean, I kind of alluded to the situation. You got Gettleman is going to be out. You've already lost your offensive coordinator. Your franchise quarterback is not your franchise quarterback. You're probably going back into that market. Your offensive line is a complete mess. There's nothing to, even if they exercise the 5th-year option, there's nothing to tell you that in Dynasty, this is a guy you can hang your hat on and say, like, yeah, I gave you the numbers. His production premium is great. So across league average situations, he's doing really well and he's producing above average compared to the majority of running backs. But that's not working in from the long-term perspective. You get a big run here or a big run there, or he gets something here or something there. He gives you the premium in a way that instead of getting 2 yards on a first down carry, he's usually getting 4, he's getting 5, or he's creating something for himself. But at the end of the game, when you look at the numbers, he's not producing enough for you to be a fantasy relevant weapon. And why would you want to pay the premium? But to the owner, why would you want to sell at anything less than the premium that you got him for, or that you drafted him to be?
Absolutely. I absolutely have to agree with you. Sorry about that. The mic was muted. Just took a minute to get it out there. Let me ask you a quick question, Connor. Would you rather have Saquon Barkley, or would you rather have Joe Mixon?
I think I'd rather have Joe Mixon, because at least the workload's safe. It's there, and it's their offensive line, despite the patch job that they did, and everyone said they should have drafted Penei Sewell. Their patch job's working, and they can again look at patching it up or addressing it further. But Joe Mixon's doing so much, and he's got one of the best production values because he's getting so much work. He's got one of the best opportunity values out there. I think he's top 5 in the league in opportunity. So I don't think you can deny that. Whereas Saquon Barkley, yeah, he's got the opportunity, but what's the team going to look like? What's the line back? What's the offensive line going to look like? What's the offense going to look like? You got to go with what you know and what you can feel certain with. And I understand the injuries, but at this point, after watching fantasy football this season, screw injuries. Who cares about injuries? They're going to happen, and you saw it. You've witnessed it, especially at the running back position. So get the person who's going to give you the premium production right away.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. But let's keep it moving on here, because we can't keep talking about Saquon and
absolutely
what ifs and candy and nuts, because then we don't have a Merry Christmas, and Christmas is around the corner, and we're not talking about it. But we're moving on
to Kendrick Bourne.
That's
to
right,
a wide
Bourne
receiver.
Identity.
Yes, sir. So Bourne has been the wide receiver over the last 3 weeks. 5 of 12 weeks, he's scored 12 or more PPR points, and he has 2 20-point outings, both in the last 3 weeks. He has only seen 3 red zone touches so far, and has seen only 16% air yard share and 13.4% target share. 60% of snaps played in only 1 game so far, and that was back in week 2. 4 of 12 games, he's seen 5 or more targets. This all equates to a total production of 3.5 receptions and 52 yards per game right now. Is his blossoming relationship with Mac Jones a Tuddy or muddy for dynasty owners? Oh, your mic cut out. Hopefully we're going to be good here. Oh, no, we're still not there. Well, Jim figures his a microphone situation out. For me, Kendrick Bourne is probably dynasty mud for me. I don't think that he's something that I'm going to buy. You see, he's not out there for more than 60% of snaps. He's not seeing the target premium that you would like to see. He's only seen 5 or more targets on a minimal amount of times. He's reliant on like a big play or a touchdown. And we know the New England Patriots. We know the situation and the circumstance around the New England Patriots. You never really know who to trust. And Kendrick Bourne is someone he's got this blossoming relationship, but I don't think that he's somebody you can trust beyond being more of like a wide receiver, probably 4 on your lineup. Wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, you don't want to take him as any of that. And wide receiver 3, I don't know if I'd take him as that either, because there's younger, more intriguing pieces who you could be drafting at between 25 and 36 in a draft. So to me, Bourne remains like not even somebody I'd even consider buying at this point. And definitely not someone I would be considering drafting next season, even despite what may be the final outcome of the season for him. So Jim, thoughts on Kendrick Bourne? It's still not there. Oh, We Jim's mic is a little lost. Oh, there we go. You're there.
You good?
Yep. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, so man, I think it's muddy for Jacoby Myers right now. I disagree with you. I would be buying him because he's pretty cheap, I would believe, especially if you want to stack him with Mac Jones, but not as a wide. I do agree with you, not as a wide receiver 1, not as a wide receiver 2, not a wide receiver 3 if you play in those types of leagues, but definitely as a flex option. Listen, there's been a lot of injuries. We've alluded to it, right? We got Waller injured last week. CMC's done for the year. Swift is gone. There's owners that are panicking, and listen, you could do a lot worse than let's call him what he is, dynasty. No way, I don't want him, but like end of the season filler through this bicocalypse and Armageddon of injuries. Absolutely, you could do a lot worse, man. So tossing a late second or a third if you are competing to get you over the hump, I see nothing wrong with that, especially if you're stacking them with the Mac attack, the MJ10, I believe, as he just trademarked or tried to trademark MJ10.
Oh, I
Mac
didn't even
Jones.
see that.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, like you speak of that desperation, I was telling you guys in our group chat there, me, you, Ty, and Josh, that I had a CMC owner come to me and wanted Alvin Kamara, and I got a really nice return. I got a 2022 first, a 2023 first, Brandon Ayuk, and Travis Etienne in return for Alvin Kamara. Because this guy is in win now mode. He knows he has a really good chance, top of the league, looking down at everybody else. And it was an opportunity to sell. So that's the type of desperation you could get from people, even for Kendrick Bourne. They might be willing to pay a low-end wide receiver 2 price point because they're buying what Kendrick Bourne and Mac Jones have been selling over the last couple weeks. Even if he is playing less than 60% of snaps, he's producing at least some sort of premium because he gets at least a big play or a touchdown every game that makes him worth it in PPR.
Oh, and he's gonna listen. It's not like his career numbers are massive, but like he's already at his career high for season in touchdowns with 5, and that was over 15 games. And he's already a couple yards shy of his season high in yardage. And I mean, it's not crazy; it's under 700 yards, but it's still. I'm just saying, it's still happening. So, I don't care when it happens. You got to ride the wave. You know what I mean? You got to find the wave, ride the wave of influx points. That's clearly not enough to sustain over a season. But if he does it in a little bit of boom patterns and you can find them, which is happening right around now. And like I said, desperation plays with people being hurt. I got a lot of people that now I lost. I lost a team with Swift and CMC as my RB1 and RB2. I already had Akers on my IR stint, right? I traded away J.K. Dobbins because of this stuff. Like I got crushed with injuries. It's a fragile position. But enough about that. Let's keep it rolling, Connor, because we want to get these people flowing. We got a game to watch.
For sure. So I got 2 more wide receiver ones to hit on here. OBJ and Van Jefferson. The Rams saw 3 wide receivers come out as top 15 fantasy options this past week, all scoring over 18 points. OBJ put up 581 on 10 targets. Van Jefferson went 393 on 9 targets. And the Rams did trail the entire game, which may have helped with the immense number of targets. Even Cooper Kupp had 10 targets as well. Is it time to buy back into OBJ? Or is Van Jefferson becoming a safe player to own in a flex position similar to that of Kendrick Bourne? What do you make of the Rams wide receiver room in general? Obviously, we know currently Robert Woods is out for this season, but he's going to be back next year. Their plan and intention is to re-sign OBJ. Just like everybody they acquire, they plan to re-sign them with what limited cap space they have. So let's start out with OBJ, then Van Jefferson, and then the Rams as a whole. So OBJ, you buying back in or?
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking into his contract. It's like really weird. Like he gets bonus salaries all the way to 2025, but not. That's weird. Anyway, I like Van Jefferson. I love Van Jefferson. I think he's showing what can definitely happen. Because the top man out to me is probably, sorry to say, maybe Bobby. Maybe Bobby ends up moving on if they end up signing OBJ. I can't see him signing all 3. But I don't really see him signing OBJ either, but
Well, Robert
I like
Woods
what
just
Van
signed an
Jefferson's doing.
extension
I know,
in
but
this
I think
season,
you can
so
trade him better. I think you can trade him easier than an Odell Beckham. I think
fair.
I think Robert Woods would be more wanted in locker rooms.
So from a
But that's just
dynasty
me.
perspective, would you be telling someone
Van
to buy
Jefferson.
Van Jefferson over OBJ?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I like the kid. I think he runs some nice routes there, man. And he looks smooth going in and out.
And
He knows what he's doing too on that football field. He's not stupid.
he makes
That's for
big
sure.
plays happen too. Like, I mean, all it takes is one play and he literally becomes at least at the minimum like a top 32 wide receiver in a given week in this situation that we're looking at with wide receivers.
And listen, man, you said 9 targets. Sure, he only had 3 catches, but 9 targets. Doesn't, like, to me that speaks a lot to keep looking at it. He keeps getting the opportunities going forward. And even though this is a little tip before we bring back tips for ships, here's a little tip for your ship. Watch out, even though that it's not part of our fantasy playoffs, just make sure you keep watching like the real playoffs and see how usage ends up ticking up and bumping up, because that can be a definite telltale sign of what to expect going forward in the future of next season. But Connor, let's keep it going.
And he does. I do want to point out Van Jefferson does have 9 drops, which ranks number 1 amongst wide receivers. But to that point, he has a number 8th among wide receivers average depth of target. So obviously we know that the guys who are the big plays waiting to happen tend to also have a few more drops and tend to also see more potential for error because they're going for the big shot. So hopefully him and Matt Stafford can get more of a connection going, and Van Jefferson can come back and be just an even bigger weapon next season in that offense. Because I agree with you. I think there has to be an odd man out, and I don't think that Van Jefferson should be the odd man out because he does something Cooper Kupp, OBJ, and Robert Woods doesn't, and that is he's a burner and he is a big play and will take those deep targets. So just an added
Also,
note on Van Jefferson.
real quick, the other guy that people used to have concerns about drops was Deonte Johnson, right? Like, if the quarterback just look at the targets. If the quarterback keeps trusting him and throwing him targets, like, the opportunities there, it's going to happen. So, but
yeah,
like I said, let's
he sees 5.6 targets a game, so it's pretty impressive there. Next, I do want to hit on some slumping sophomores. I got 4 guys for you, and I'll set the table. Gabriel Davis is big. I want you to rate them going forward from Dynasty Tuddy to Dynasty Mud. Gabriel Davis is buried on a depth chart, but flashed a bit last season, although it feels his 2027 touchdowns and 11 red zone targets have been moved elsewhere. Emmanuel Sanders is an impending free agent who poached the other portion of his work, which was the deep ball. Jalen Reagor has been an absolute dud. 2 massive drops this past weekend may have completely eliminated him from the Eagles offense, and inability to carve out a role in the offense as well. He's had 3 10-point performances and 6 with less than 5 points. The offense has become more run-centric, with Goddard and Smith being the focal points of the passing game. Donovan Peoples-Jones is set to step into a larger role, or so managers hope, with OBJ's departure. The Browns have pretty much, I would say, a quarter of a quarterback throwing the football right now with all his injuries. Peoples-Jones has seen his snap count hit 75 and 85% in the last 2 games played, but both games produced 5.6 points combined. Brian Edwards, or Randy Moss, as his former coach may have you believe, he has been more akin to, I akin him more to moss growing on a tree right now. He failed to take advantage with, and now without Ruggs, he surpassed 10 points 4 times, 15 points 1 time, and put up 5 or less 4 times. He's had 4 catches or more only once. That was week 1. Rank those guys, those slumping sophomores or ones in some sophomores in difficult positions, from Dynasty Tud to Dynasty Mud.
Well, to be honest, I think they're all a little bit muddy, but I'll rate them as what I think can be most valuable to your teams going forward.
Mhm.
And that would be Donovan Peoples-Jones, Gabriel Davis, Jalen Reagor, Brian Edwards.
I actually
me,
agree. I actually agree. Minus, I think I might swap Edwards and Reagor, but I think they're both at a point now where you don't want either of them. They're both going to sit at the bottom of your bench and rot
just
until they
like
show
the difference
something.
for me, between them is like you said, Brian Edwards hasn't even stepped up with or without those people. I understand Reagor had the 2 devastating drops for you guys there, but the fact of the matter is without Devontae Smith, I guess, in this offense hasn't really been asked of him. So
it just sucks because, like, if you've watched an Eagles game, like, they've tried to get him into the screen game. They've tried him in the slot. They've tried him in all these different ways, and he just hasn't been able to work out. But then to the same point, when you look at Brian Edwards, he just can't do. He's lost all his workload to literally whatever tight end's in. It's going to be Foster Moreau this week. Foster Moreau is going to be
big game.
It's going to be 100%. Foster Moreau and Hunter Renfrow are going to have big games, guaranteed. Brian Edwards is always just a secondary piece at this point, and he's like a third piece, fourth piece, fifth piece.
There you go, fifth. Because they got the two. They'll run the running backs before.
Mm-hmm.
They'll run whatever tight end Hunter Renfrow, and then if they have 2 healthy running backs, both of them.
And then they like to try and take a big shot. So you got Deshaun Jackson or Zay Jones stealing a few targets a game on a big shot. I agree with you though. Donovan Peoples-Jones is definitely the one with the best value, but you gotta hope is a healthy Baker Mayfield next year going to be better than this half a man we're watching right now? Because if so, then there's opportunity. If he isn't, then it's starting over with a
he's
new
a yo-yo. Maybe expect good times, bad times, all the time, up and down. Maybe he's like the yo-yo quarterback,
like Van Jefferson. Circumstances will give you an opportunity from time to time, but maybe not so from time to time.
Maybe, but I think Van Jefferson's just going to get clearer and clearer as the path continues. But that path, speaking about paths, let's talk about the path to the RB1, my man.
Yes, sir. Jonathan Taylor seems to be planting himself seemingly as a consensus RB1 for startups next year. The following players have had injuries or struggled with injuries this year or last. What order would you prioritize drafting or attempting to acquire the following names? Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, man.
That's if you believe that Jonathan Taylor is the RB1, but I don't think people are going back to CMC again this year as their RB1 in a startup or in a redraft right off the bat. I just don't see it.
Okay, but I just want to say real quick that just because I ranked them this way doesn't mean you have to draft them this way. So it's Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's my one. But I don't think you have to draft him the one, especially this year. What was he, RB8? Getting drafted, remember, we screamed from the rooftops. Why are you getting him? I understand he got hurt.
I feel like it might have been less. Hurt. I feel like he was 10 or 11. He was almost outside the RB1, but it might have fluctuated. But
I understand he got hurt, but I never understood the he's going to get hurt argument. But he never had. But anyway, neither here nor there. I like Henry as my one because he's just otherworldly to me. I think he comes back better than ever. And but you don't have to draft him one. You can draft him RB8. That's the beautiful part.
So you can probably get him as your second running back if you go heavy at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but for me, it would be Henry, Taylor, Zeke, Swift. I know I'm throwing him in there, and he's not even in there. But that's what I want to just say. There's a running back before I'm even going to go with this other running back. Man, that's really hard for me.
You got McCaffrey that low.
No,
These 2 years
Mixon and
have really-
CMC. Mixon and CMC. Yeah, because like I just don't think the value's there anymore with him. Ending 2 seasons like this now, not having him in fantasy playoffs now for 2 seasons, value's taking a hit now. So just like I said, it's down there, and it's down there. I think Mixon gets continually disrespected, but for me, like anyway, that's how I'd rank them. Threw Swift in there for you too, just to tell you that there's a even
just
couple
show it
running
off.
backs.
Yeah,
that'll throw in there.
And I'm really starting to believe, like, with these back-to-back seasons that CMC actually got injured like this, I don't think you're going to see him get like the 20, 25, 30 touches a game like he's been getting. I don't think that a team can rightfully give him that, despite what you paid
especially
out
when
for
you've
him.
seen what Chuba can do. Chuba's going to carve out a role. It's the same argument as the Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers if they come back, which I don't even know what the split would be in that anymore. In the Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, but like Chuba's already shown that he can produce. So
yeah, like these guys have played themselves into roles. Like you said, Darrell Henderson, he's not coming back next season and gonna see 5 touches a game. He's played himself into a role. James Robinson has played himself into a role even when Travis Etienne is back and healthy.
Well, he played himself into a role last year.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like now, like people are like oh, when Etienne's here, like Robinson's gonna take the back seat. No, I think they're gonna share the load. I think it could be like, I mean, I tweeted it out way back. Back when the draft happened. No, stop it. I tweeted it out way back that
it's gonna be Visca that takes the hit.
100% Visca takes a hit. Like if you still are holding on to Visca shares, I unfortunately don't think it's ever going to pay dividends. But we talked about that I think we talked about that during the AFC South preview episode.
Sure did, buddy.
So, but unfortunately, we never got to see Etienne come to fruition, which was a shame because I think people would have seen like, it's just, I don't know if it's like Urban Meyer doesn't like Visca or what, but like he's not even like Dan Arnold's out, Jamal Agnew's out, and he's still like, it's just a mess. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for me, I guess I'll give my order of those 4 names. I would probably go Derrick Henry as well. I would go Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey, and probably Zeke at the end of that line. I don't know why I have Zeke at the end. I feel like his value is going to go down this year. I feel like there's a lot of people buying into the Pollard circumstance where they think that Pollard can slowly eat more and more into Zeke, and he's going to slowly see that ADP drop because I think he was going double digit already. Like I think he was right around like bordering on the top end of RB2 in ADP. So his value was already dropping. And if anything happens that Pollard gets to see more of this, more to end this season, Zeke's value could go down lower, which brings the same conclusion that you could, although I put Zeke at 4, you can probably get Zeke as your second or your third running back. And I would probably be just as content that way. So that's the way I would put it. But on to the next stop, I guess, before we wrap up the Tuddy or Muddy section.
Yeah. Somebody that I've never met. Give it to him.
Yeah, somebody that we've talked about a bit and you haven't really loved, but Cole Kmet. Kmet is 22 years old and seems to be building a trusted connection with both quarterbacks in Chicago. He's seen 5+ targets in 5 of his last 6 games, capped off by 11 targets last week from Andy Dalton. He's surpassed 50 yards only twice and has not found the end zone yet. He's played over 75% of snaps in all games since week 3, most of them at over 80%. Tuddy or Muddy in Dynasty, Jim?
Muddy. I don't really want to get into this too deep. We all know how I feel about tight ends in Dynasty, so they're muddy. They're all muddy to me. You get the top 3. 4 just so people are knocking on my door.
Don't trade for him.
Yeah, that's right. And then just wait, baby. Get your guys late. Like every year, there's a guy you can get late off the waivers or late in the draft, right? Pat Fryermuth, my guy, late in the draft, lighten it up, right? There's always a guy you can get.
I think I think it was fantasy footballers who were talking about it, and Pitts and Frymouth are literally like what tight end 9 and 10 right now. So it's like, damn.
Oh, and you could have got one way later than another. Just saying. You could actually have two Steelers on your team. You could have Najee. You could have Najee and the Muth. That would be like a good sitcom, eh? Najee and the Muth. You'd watch that.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a great one. But we're not discounting Kyle Pitts. We're just saying maybe things could have been different if Calvin Ridley was around, but
no, I think you overpaid for him a little bit, but that's just me. Neither here nor there. Could have got yourself a Jamar Chase. Just saying.
True. Very true. You could have got Jamar Chase. Could have probably got Najee Harris. We're now staring down,
been the one for
conversation to be had about Jalen Waddle. Like, there's a lot of pieces that
you could have got after. You could have got all three if it would have been Waddle.
Yeah, you probably could have got Waddle went at like the end of the first round in most drafts, mid
or
to
top of the second.
Round. Top of the second really depends on where people valued people and if you were super flex or not. But before we move on, though, a quick word from our sponsors over at Viridian Global.
Here at the Gold Jacket Podcast, we take family very seriously. We know that family doesn't always stop at the bloodline. It's a word that ensures trust. It's a word that, well, around here, means that I know that I can count on you to have my back. Viridian Global is family, a family of the Fantasy Collective, and that is the exact reason Viridian Global will have your back. And I don't just mean literally covering your back in the best apparel they can possibly outfit you in. I mean at every step of the way, from finding the brand that fits you best to tracking your order to making sure you are fully satisfied at every step. With over 50 brands a part of the Fantasy Football Collective family, what are you waiting for? Join the family now. ViridianGlobal.com. What are you waiting for? They're very comfortable. I'm wearing an Air Reed one right now. Beautiful. Got a lot of them. Probably got more Viridian Global. I probably got more Viridian Global t-shirts than any other brand in my closet, but that's neither here nor there. Connor, let's give the people what they want, that shiny object. So we're going to give them gold, fool's gold. I don't know about you, but I call my trophies bees. Let's get to the prodigy, Connor, who smacks my bee up. Golden and fool's gold, brought to you by Trophy Smack.
I love it. I love it. And just to point out, they did post Viridian Global that if you want your package to come before Christmas, order by December 8th. You got 6 days. Make sure you go to ViridianGlobal.com and place that order. And it makes some great gifts. Just they have it broken down by team. If you are friends with a Kansas City Chiefs fan, go to the Kansas City Chiefs section and pick something out for them and get it shipped before Christmas. 6 days. Just like you were saying, Gold or Fool's Gold, sponsored proudly by Trophy Smack. Make sure your fantasy league champion feels well respected and like a real world champion with Trophy Smack this season. Sure, a virtual Super Trophy is cool, and the money you win feels good in your wallet. But with over 1,000 customizable trophy combinations, championship belts, and rings to choose from, you can commemorate your league's champion in style. Use the promo code TNFF with your purchase and receive a free championship ring. That's TrophySmack.com, promo code TNFF at checkout. For me, let's start right with the quarterbacks. Gold. Taylor Heineke against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders in their last 6 games have allowed 3 300-plus yard passers with 4 QBs scoring 25-plus points in fantasy. Taylor Heineke has 5 25-plus point outings this season, and the football team has shown a willingness to air it out, throwing over 30 times in 7 games. So give me Taylor Heineke for gold. Fool's gold. Josh Allen against the New England Patriots. This is going to be similar to last week's George Kittle sit advice. You listen and ignore, but sometimes the writing's on the wall. The Pats have won 6 in a row, and part of that is Mac Jones. The other part is a defense that since week 7, a team's top quarterback passed for 223 yards, and that same QB has the only multi-pass and touchdown game, Justin Herbert with 2. Outside of last week's explosion against New Orleans, Allen had 2 touchdowns or less in 4 straight, while his lowest output is 18.2. This is only his 3rd matchup against a team ranking in the top 16 against fantasy quarterbacks. He's faced a bottom 5 team in 7 of 11 weeks. Jim, anything you want to add on the quarterback side?
I like Mac Jones, but I like how that's about it. I like Mac Jones. I know you're not really talking about him. I know you talked about that's how they get their success. But no, man, this is golden fool's gold. That's you. You're the prodigy. People want to hear you.
Honestly, I don't think I'd play. I think I was looking, and the over under in that game is the 2nd lowest of the week. So I think I'd probably try and avoid as many of the offensive weapons in that matchup as possible, because I think it's going to be like defensive war between Buffalo and New England, but we'll see about that. Running backs, Leonard Fournette for gold against the Atlanta Falcons. Lenny just went full playoff Lenny against the Indianapolis Colts. He gets one of the easiest matchup against the Falcons, who have in the last 5 weeks allowed the 2nd most rushing yards to running backs and been run on the most by 27 attempts on the 2nd most. This all wraps up to a 29.5 points per game allowed. Lenny may not go off for 4 touchdowns, but last time he faced the Falcons this season, he was still splitting with Ronald Jones in week 2 and was able to put up 11 points. Can he put up 20 plus with ease? Can he have back-to-back weeks as the number 1 fantasy running back? I am definitely not ruling that out. Fool's gold for me, originally I had it as Tony Pollard. I added Zeke. I lumped Zeke into it. At the beginning of the week, it was Zeke might not play. Then Jerry Jones said, oh, he's going to play and he's going to get a big load. So who knows? Full load, big load, full load, whatever. But it's Pollard and Zeke tonight against the New Orleans Saints. Pollard, originally I wrote this prior to the full load, but Pollard owners were foaming at the mouth ready to put Pollard in with the Zeke injury and the limiting of work. Rightfully so. He has definitely flash of potential to deliver. Sadly, he gets a Saints team who, since their week 6 bye, have literally stonewalled the run with no running back in over 15 fantasy points and only 2 surpassing 10. They have allowed only 1 running back to rush for over 75 yards, and only 2 have managed 100 total scrimmage yards. Sure, with the wasteland that is the running back position, he could be a low end RB2 with 10-ish points, but your expectation should be for much better. Listen, I'm not ruling out that Zeke can't find the end zone. I'm just saying Zeke might find the end zone and find himself at 10 or 11 fantasy points, because he's not going to get a whole lot done against his defense. So that is my thoughts for that one. So I'm not against the going bananas. I'm just saying, if you're playing Zeke, you may want to taper your expectations, but he could still find the end zone. He will still find the end zone, Jim. Just for you.
Do you say taper your expectations and then put up like at least double-digit points? Double-digit points, man. Double-digit points. You want minimum double-digit points from your guys.
Exactly. But I mean,
exactly.
You don't say Zeke Elliott and expect 10
as a
points.
You better put up 40 again for me. Woo! Rojo can get the fuck out of there with that goddamn poaching touchdown. Could have had 5, god damn it.
Ronald Jones should get out of there, rightfully so, and he will this
I love
offseason.
Rojo, but this not when I got Lenny in the lineup. Not when I got lineup Lenny in there.
So my gold in the wide receiver department should be T.Y. Houston, because obviously we all know T.Y. Hilton's going off against Houston, but I'm also putting Michael Pittman in there. Over the last 5 weeks, only 2 teams have allowed over 45 points to wide receivers per game. The Texans are one team, and they may have been saved a bit last week against the Jets and Elijah Moore's big 9-point night as the wide receiver 1 for the Jets. Pittman has sputtered the last couple games, but the Bills are top D against wide receivers, and the Bucs have been much improved against wide receivers. This will be a breath of fresh air since the volume remains with a 31% share of the air yardage and a 23% target share. He's seen 5+ targets in 5 straight, including 2 games over 10 in that 5-game stretch, including 10 last week against the Bucs. So just forget about the last couple games because those were against much improved secondaries, very good secondaries. This is against the Houston Texans. Nothing to worry about with T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman. Fool's gold for me, sticking with Mike Williams against Cincinnati Bengals. After 4 straight games of 10 points or less, Williams finally put up 20 points against the Steelers before returning to form again. Williams' first 5 games may have been a mirage, as he's only managed 10 or more points once over the last 6 games. The Bengals have been a top 12 team against the wide receiver position over the last 5 weeks. They've allowed only 5 teams to have 2 wide receivers score 10 or more against them in all 11 weeks played. Never has 2 wide receivers scored 15 or more. Keenan Allen is seeing and producing with the lion's share of work, so Williams is likely due for yet another blah start. Anything you want to add on the wide receiver side of things there, Jim?
No, man, I'm loving it. Actually, I'm in a league. It's funny you say it. I love your wide receiver golds there. I'm actually in a league. You got to start 3 wide receivers. Sorry, got pushed to 4 wide receivers. I only had 3. I got big Keenan Allen. I got Michael Pittman. I was expecting a big end of week, and I had to go scrambling. I lost my bid. Like it's that elimination one. I'm in there with Coach, and I'm playing T.Y. Hilton and Pittman this week, hoping they both go off. And my RB1, line up Lenny. So, I'm hoping for big weeks here, Connor.
You got the matchups, baby. You got the matchups. Tight ends, gold. Logan Thomas against the Las Vegas Raiders. The rust has been shaken off, and it's time for Thomas to get back to being a top Washington target and weapon. He saw 6 targets last week and converted that to a 3-31 stat line. Not bad for someone who's missed the last 4 or 5 weeks. This week, he gets a Raiders team allowing 18 points per game to the tight end over the last 5 weeks, which is 4th worst. CJ Uzomah is the only tight end in the last 5 to not put up at least 10 points. Fool's gold? Well, I'm going back to Kyle Pitts against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are in the bottom 10 against fantasy tight ends, but we know Pitts is no ordinary tight end and splits out wide often. I checked the snap counts, 209 in the slot, 164 out wide, and 147 in line. The Falcons' offense runs and flies through Cordero Patterson, and really that's about it. Pitt's volume remains with 5 targets or more since week 4. He hasn't had more than 4 catches in the last 5 weeks, and his best performance in these 5 weeks, 10 points. Jim, anything you want to add to the tight ends before we say goodbye?
That I apologize. I couldn't sell CJ Uzomah early in his booming parts, but that's neither here nor there. That's my own mistakes. Thank you as always for tuning in.
We live and we learn for sure, Jim. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening and supporting the podcast and the stream. Make sure you rate, review, like, or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Follow Jim at Gold Jacket QBs. Follow me at Connor10 TEN on Twitter. Also, if you look over Jim's head, you can find where you can find the True North Fantasy Football Crew, TrueNorthFFB.com, at TrueNorthFFB on Twitter, and the TNFF Network on YouTube, where you are watching us likely right now. Next week, we're going to be back, and we are going to be talking the final week for the majority of leagues, the final week of the fantasy season. It is finally here, and we are going to be looking towards playoffs. So we will see you all next Tuesday.
See you, Nick.
This is a beginning point.